Hey legends, welcome back to another episode of Fat Chat by Body Majic. Now, the episode I've got today, I've got a guest with me. I previously had him on for just a little short segment, but we've got a full-length episode with him today, and I'm so excited to have a sit down and have a chat because we actually haven't seen each other for in person for about 2 months. I think it was on the actual podcast episode.
Yeah, you come and pick a pair of shoes up from me.
Yes, that's right. That's last time.
Or something, but,
yes, that's right.
Yeah, the last time
we've had a proper catch up was
You've trained a fair bit since then. Too.
Yes, I have. We've got lots to catch up on. But he's an absolute legend in the Ironman space, triathlon space. He's got state records. He's won the event that I'm doing down in Busselton previously. The biggest psychopath I know. And I didn't actually realise how big of a deal you are in the sport, like me just being so naive. I had no idea what a big name he is, but please welcome Matt Burton, everybody. Well done. Yes.
Thanks. That's lovely.
Mate, like I said, I had no idea when we first started. I had an idea from obviously doing a bit of research and we caught up and everything, but anyone that I speak to that is a cyclist in triathlon, anything, so who's your coach? And I go, Matt Burton. They go, Matt Burton, like the comparison that I've heard, he's like the Bryce Cotton of Ironman. That's what I've heard from multiple people.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Unless you're in a sport, you're pretty hidden from it, right?
Yeah.
So I tend to keep to myself as well. Train alone most of the time. There's not too many, or not really, very, very few professional endurance athletes in WA. So, it's a niche sport, triathlon, and then Ironman again is like its own sport as well. So it's not a big deal yet. I still feel I have a fair bit to achieve before I'm happy with where I'm at or what I'm doing. So none of us are getting any younger, but I still feel pretty right to perform and to win at home again is my biggest goal in the short term is to, like you said, I've won the race you're training for once, but to win something twice is
pretty huge.
Yeah, a bit of a self-confirmation.
So, in terms of the professional Ironman athletes, in that space that are going around to all the different events in Australia and the world, how many? What's the pool look like for that?
Yeah, it must exceed sort of 500.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be now. There'd be 500 plus memberships, maybe 1,000.
That's huge.
Really.
That's pretty
significant from a male point of view. Females would be pushing towards 500 now, I reckon, from a professional like the long course.
Yep.
There's a lot of different memberships, but if you're looking at it from a governing body point of view, that like Triathlon Australia or the International Triathlon Union, there's probably sort of around those numbers.
Yep.
Which in the scheme of the world isn't a lot.
Yeah, very true.
But it's like you're unaware of, and many people, triathlon's very small. And what we're doing on a Sunday morning down along the coast is when most people are still sleeping.
That's very true.
All they see is true. You pop out of your house and you see a road closure and you just get pissed off at, can't get out onto this road. So, but we're actually out there, racing, and some of us still
and
as a profession.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, if I honestly did not have you, I would not even be at the point where I'm at right now because your advice, the program that you've got me on, the late night texts and phone calls that I give you and voicemails and all that sort of stuff, it's helped me so much already all the way through.
And the photos. Selfies,
and the photos. And everything. We make sure I send him a photo every time I finish a good session. Every go, look at this. Every swim session, exactly all when the shirt's off.
Photos of Body Majic.
That's on my Instagram anyway, but if you scroll back far enough, all the nude stuff. But I honestly cannot thank you enough for everything that you've done so far. And there's been so much of your coaching style that I've loved and that I've gone, oh my gosh, I need to start doing little bits and pieces. So it's been, I've taken, regardless of just the Ironman stuff, just your actual coaching style, I've taken so much from. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's I've really enjoyed it, right? You're coming from a complete unknown. Yeah. It's very rare in the sport now. You meet someone who's sort of taken it on as a challenge, and you've made it very clear after December 3. That's triathlons in the past.
Yep.
But achieving it is something you can never be taken away from you as well, right?
Yeah.
So, and most people are aware of Ironman because of Hawaii and the marketing that Gatorade did years ago when they broadcast a little bit on Channel 9 and stuff. But yeah, you've impressed me to this point. It's fine for me to write a program. It's very easy to write down on paper, write for this long. The fact the writing you've done the hours is super impressive, because writing is what someone not coming from the sport,
yeah,
it's probably the most unenjoyable because it's quite lonely.
So long, and it's just like, and I go with Dad for the first little bit, but then he peels off after the first hour and a half or whatever back, and then it's me for another 3 or 4 hours or whatever on my own. And there's only so many podcasts that I want to listen to. You know,
and the good news is it's only going to get longer now until December.
I know. It does. It gets harder and harder and harder every single time. But I think that, like, even just reflecting on from the start of it to now, oh my gosh, the improvement and the things that I've learned from, you know, you teaching me and everything all along the way is like huge improvement so far. So yeah, I'm pretty buzzed to hopefully get to December and then be able to tick it off and get it done.
Yeah, the hardest thing when we first started to speak was slowing someone like you down who's come from an anaerobic or a sprint base, right? Someone who's just a power athlete. You've really got to train slowly to start and just learn to just be within yourself all the time. So it's very boring. Yeah. Right. But it's the time under tension is what then creates fatigue. Then all of a sudden you hit a real fatigue point. And I've had quite a lot of messages from your videos of late saying it looks like you've cracked him. But without trying to scare anyone from the sport, you go through these flows, right? Like you don't want to be up and about right now. You need to be up and about when we hit December. At the moment, you just your body needs to start to understand how to be efficient, when to be economical, you know, how to manage your food intake correctly so you do sleep well through the night. Because if you don't get that right, then you'll sleep terribly.
Definitely.
And then if you go too hard all the time, you also sleep terribly. So, you know, endurance is built from being able to control your effort and everything around you. As soon as you go too hard, you lose control.
Yeah, definitely. So the episode that I do before this one comes out, I think it's out tomorrow, and I was speaking to my co-host John, and I was just talking about you as a coach, right? And I was going, Matt is great at when I'm flat. You can get, or when something's gone wrong, you can get me back up, right? Because I've like the highs and the lows of doing this is huge. Like the massive. Yep. Like it's so, you're just trying to stay in the middle here. And when I'm low, you're fantastic at getting me back up. Or something goes wrong, you can get me back up. But when I think I'm flying, I think you fucking bring me down real quick. You beat me down real quick just to make sure I'm not, not flying up here too much. Which is, I think it's helped me.
Sorry, yeah.
No, it's good. It's great.
It's not that I try and be a hard ass or this like take on this brutal coaching aspect, but typically as humans, positive reinforcement is what we live for, right? Yeah, we live for that external praise, but a good coach in any sporting code isn't giving that out for the sake of it.
Yep.
Right. I'm not just talking about triathlon. This is me, my broadening my awareness of coaching in general. One day I might be a lot better at it when I've got a lot more time, but just going, in a great session, well done, sending a message to say, yep, great work. I'd rather not pick through what people have done incorrectly, but just pull them up on it to say like, that's well done on that's a good session, but that's not what I wrote.
Yep.
Like, so if you're out, you do a lot of stuff with, say, basketball or football, AFL players, coaches, typically the good ones are seen to be quite challenging for their players. Constantly making them think. So as someone preparing for any challenge, when you put a challenge ahead of you that's in 3 months, that's in 6 months' time, you don't need to go and search for hard or difficult things every day in your life. They will come. There will always be something that'll catch you out or make you frustrated. And this sport just amplifies it. You got 3 sports, then you got life, right? You work more than most people would probably understand, right? And your time and commitment away from just living. So it's a credit to you to be able to juggle it, but also I don't want you to get too caught up in, people saying, unreal on a 2-hour ride.
Yep.
It's so cool. Like it is, but you're potentially going to be out there for 15 hours.
Yes. Yep.
So I just want you to be aware of what the experience will be like and not hate, not get out there and be like, oh, hold on. Yep. For 5 months, Matt was so positive and
now
this
I'm
is
burning.
Awful. Yeah. It's 35 degrees. I feel I'm walking, I can't run. It's like, really the hard lessons are now.
Yep.
And then, not to say race day will be a breeze, but the experience of a full distance, going through
whole nother
eating
thing.
gels, stuff that's not comfortable, right? It's like, they common in track athletics and swimming, and even shorter cycling events, not so much the longer road stages, but people always say training's the harder work, and then you don't feel race day.
Yep.
Our race days are very long.
I think you said something the other day, and it was like, you've done some really good work and lots of work so far, which is great. But now this next lot of stuff is just making the race as enjoyable as you possibly can. You still got to put in the bigger sessions, got to keep building it. It gets harder and harder and longer and that sort of thing. But how that really stuck with me, going, all right, cool, I do all this work now, then the day is going to be as enjoyable as it can be.
As it can be.
Yeah.
Because if it blows a gale,
yeah,
right, so there's a one way on the bike won't be enjoyable, right? You have to focus on your breathing, pedaling well, feel like you're going super slow. You know what it's like. You ride down on the path. If you've got a tailwind, you feel $1 million.
You feel great.
You feel like you're about to take off.
Yeah, you do.
You turn around and you're like, I just want to walk. I just want to park up here. It's like, so that same feeling comes with you, right? And that's the mental aspect you mentioned earlier. But yeah, the work now is about trying to couple all three together. You've done the work apart from one another over the last few months. And anybody watching or listening, I legitimately have been super impressed by how you've taken everything on board. You have got your frustration you put up on social media when something happens, like the other day with your running, is true, right? I know it for a fact. You're in that younger demographic, so initially it's like, you'll flake out after a month. But no, it's been a credit to you to, you've put yourself out there, everybody's watching, and you're still here, ticking these sessions off. And then we get to couple them all together now for you to start to feel how it feels to transition from one to the other. But as a non-swimmer, ticking those, now we're up to some good 4K swims. There's not many people who could just jump in a pool and go and swim for 4K.
The swim is my favourite part.
Yeah.
So I just go initially when you first put down the first 4K swim, I quite literally lost fucking sleep at night the day before. I'm not joking. All I could think about was, oh my God, I was so tired from everything else. I had work going on. I was like, I cannot do this. And then once I got the first one done, I was like, all right, sweet. I've just done over 24 hours, just gone 7.5 Ks. So it's just crazy how much difference that makes with once you can actually complete it. Hence why I'm also, I bought into everything so far just because I've gone, all right, cool. The confidence that I get from it is knowing what I can complete beforehand.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, great, like the 4K swim. So I will be really happy with the ride stuff when it starts to get up to 150, probably 180 Ks, and I can go, I can actually do that.
Yep.
And then the only bit that's really worrying me is the running. That's what's really, just because everything just keeps breaking down and keep getting the little tendinopathies and the cramp things and the nerve thing I had the other day. So it's just little bits like that. That's the only bit that worries me. The other two, I'm confident with, that I'm good with.
Yeah, I mean, the other day you had that bit of a flare up where there was, there could be some nerve related impingements, but a bike fit's not something you've had. So this Friday we're going to address it.
Yeah.
We're going to look at make sure your position's right, so you're active through the right regions, and then not overactive through your running muscles, essentially, the sling mechanism. So which will allow you to then run well when the time comes, and the session comes. But you will do 180K multiple times, and every time you come in training, you'll be like, I don't know how I'm going to run a marathon. I say this because I still think the same thing. Yeah. Come in from 180, like I actually did a couple last week. Yeah. And both times it's like,
absolutely ruined.
Not ruined, just like,
it can't be fucked.
That mindset of you've got to run a marathon. But it's like, once you get going and you've trained, the training effect takes over.
Yep.
So it's then, and you'll forget to feel that in training. So we got still plenty of time, and it's just, the weather's starting to really improve.
It's way nicer now that the weather's starting to go.
Right?
So much easier to get up in the morning. Everything. It's just so much better. Yeah, like you were saying. But anyway, let's go back right back to the start of your Ironman career. Tell us about how you actually got into the sport. Was it like your family that was into it? Because you played a bit of football beforehand as well, didn't you?
Yeah, casually.
Yeah. But it was like A grade amateurs though, wasn't it?
Well, B grade.
B grade. Yeah. Still pretty good.
It was okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, growing up in those outer suburbs, that was quite typical, right? Most of the guys I went to school with we all played footy together, and then you went on to an amateur club.
Yeah.
And that was the social aspect as well. I played a lot of cricket at school, predominantly. That's where I thought...
Batter, bowler?
A batsman, I would say. I don't know, some people might say no, but I bowled spin.
Spin?
Mate, that's where the money was, right? So that's where the king was. So it's, and then footy, I probably, I said, gravitated toward footy a bit more because I started to enjoy the fitness aspect a lot more when I left school. And then so much so that my obsession with the gym was taken away from going to actual footy training. Mm-hmm. And then I had a friend there was always talk about doing a triathlon as a bit of fun. And then, mate.
And how old were you when that?
21.
21, yeah.
To my 21st birthday, bought me a real small one, Australia Day triathlon.
Yeah.
Still goes these days on Aussie Day. But, and that was just that was a pivotal time, but also you're at that age where you're willing to take on things that have challenged you as well.
Yep.
You're trying a lot of different things. So I was like, this is fitness for me. When I transitioned, I couldn't swim. I had to do breaststroke, right? So it was only 200 meters. And then the bike was 7K, and I borrowed a bike from her dad. And then the run, I almost got disqualified because you're not allowed to run in a triathlon without a shirt on. This is something you want to discuss. Yeah, so you have to be covered in the torso, right?
Gotcha. So you rocked up and you just didn't have...
No, I had a shirt, but it was a long... We'd been out the night before, so it was a long sleeve, shirt you'd wear into town, right? Not button up,
right.
So I've got into transition. They're like, you got to put a shirt on. I was like, oh no.
It's just you wore the one from the night before.
Shirt, mate.
Really?
In the Point Walter bush somewhere.
Oh, really?
15
That's
years
so
ago.
good.
So it was this big white, flowy shirt, and
not aerodynamic at all.
No, I mean I had to put it on the bike, so it's flapping away on the bike. Not that I was racing it; I was just trying to go as hard as I could. Mm-hmm. And then when I finished, I was like, oh, this is. That's a test of fitness for me at the moment. And I had another friend who independently did this same event for the first time, another mate from school. And then it just snowballed from there for that summer. We just would do all these smaller events, novice events they are, distance-wise. And then we were like, 21, why don't we just do the Busso half distance, which was in May. And I was like, can't be that hard, right? You're invincible. We're invincible. But nothing about nutrition, right? No, knew nothing.
You're going in like YouTube, what I am right now.
Pretty much. I'm exactly the same boat. I had no real aerobic base. I was in the gym heaps. It was all about being swole.
The best type of fitness, I think.
Really, you get to see it's quite lazy fitness.
It actually is.
Not taking anything away from blokes lifting, but
it's totally different.
Mentally as well. And then, we did the May. Cramps like crazy. And then just that, you come out of an event with a high. So when you say to me a few days after Ironman in December, I might go again. I'm going to just tell you, go give it a month. Sleep on
Trust
it.
Me.
Sleep on it, buddy.
Yeah. Trust me. I won't be coming to you and saying that. I mean, thank fuck we finished that.
And then I'll look over at your girlfriend and she'll be like, no.
No. Exactly.
Again, I've been there. So it's... we did. That was in the May, the half distance. And then probably 2 weeks later, he's like, we should just do the Ironman in December. And then I was like, yeah, righto, but...
So you've gone from doing the modified distance to doing the full one. And how big a space of time was that? 1 year?
1 year.
Yeah.
So in the January of 2009, I did the Australia Day Triathlon, which was 200 metre swim, 7K ride, 2K run. By December, I did the full, what you're doing.
Yeah, wow.
Yep. And then I got a coach mid-year, right? It's the same guy that's going to help you with your bike fit. And just a template for 20 weeks program. No contact needed. And this has shaped the way I train and probably shaped the way I feel about how people should train. It's a simple progression if you're targeting an event in the distance. Right, you need to take a few steps forward, then a step back. A few steps forward, step back. Though step back isn't a step back. It allows your body to absorb what you've done. Gives your body a chance to freshen up so you then can perform at a higher level.
Which is that's kind of like what we're doing now. It's like the 2 weeks of hard and then 1 week.
And 1 week lighter.
And I've almost taken that when I've started to do work stuff as well. So I've gone, all right, cool. Every extra I can possibly do, I'm going as hard as I can. blazing it for 2 weeks,
Yep.
and then I'm having 1 week that I'm just sort of doing
Get through
the
it.
bare minimum of what I need to do, and then you go hard again. So yeah, it's funny that because I've taken that not just from the training side of things, I've actually taken that into my lifestyle and work stuff as well. So
yeah, it's a different way to look at it, but it's very good from a progression point of view, right? Because you never then put yourself in a real state of injury. It changes a little bit at an elite level, but it's still the same basis, right? You can get carried away sometimes. And so that was the progression through to the December. And then I finished second in there's like 5-year age groups, right, that you race in if you were caring about the actual race at the Ironman. And I was second in the 18 to 24 at the time. First place got a spot to the World Champs, which is in Kona, Hawaii, right? And in the following October. And then I just missed. He won comfortably, but then I was like, oh, well, I haven't really done this for long. Maybe I'll go to Ironman Australia, which was like 4 months later, and got a program again, same progression once I'd recovered. He was the coach writing the programs was very big on, I'm so new to it, don't get caught in the bubble. You get the bug. A lot of people get the golf bug, right? Where then they spend up crazy, sits in the corner for years, the clubs, right? But I was like, no, I want to, I'm enjoying this. Keep going. And then I went to the Ironman Australia, which is in Port Macquarie. It's now in May. It was then in March. So you could train through summer. It's big.
that's tough work. Yep.
It's good though, right? Summer's what you want. Your body gets a lot of different adaptations from heat.
And I guess it's also that there's not that long a time for you to, not be conditioned anymore. You kind of just continue your stuff all the way through. You kind of recover from your race in December or whatever, and then you just keep rolling it through.
Yeah, from the start, like Christmas time was okay, and then you go 3 months.
So how many events could you do? Sorry, off track. How many events can you do in a year?
Depends how well you want to do them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do, typically like your elite marathon runners will run 2 in a year very well. So that was the old method. It was 2 Ironman in 12 months, and then a lot of half distance races to, if you're doing it as a profession, that's how you earn money. But now it's reshaped. People are doing 4, 5, 6 Ironman in the year.
Wow.
But if you want to peak correctly, you got to, that progression still holds strong where you got to target specific times to be in peak fitness. You can't maintain it for...
Of course, the whole year.
Yeah, it was interesting last night, Lockie Neal wins the Brownlow and he's talking about a pre-season he did 2 years ago. Kids watching that at home or listening to that at home, you don't maintain fitness for 2 years, right? So he's still trained plenty of times through that. It's just things you pick up, I guess. I'm nitpicking at different comments and he also didn't expect to win. But, it's... For us, for elite athletes in this sport, I've been training upwards of 25 hours a week for 15 years, say on average, and the big weeks are around 40. Last week was 41. So if I have 2 weeks off, which I raced in Singapore only 6 weeks ago and got very sick from that.
Yeah, you're super crook.
Yeah, and so I had 2 weeks pretty much where I had a week I didn't really couldn't get out of bed. And it was a real slog to get back moving well, like neurally, muscularly, it takes time. You got to reset.
And do you reckon you're definitely more susceptible to getting sick
and
absolutely. Really absolutely hitting you for 6 because of how intense the training is?
Yeah, definitely. Your immune system's suppressed.
Was it something like you have less white blood cell count or something like that with doing the extreme endurance events? Is that right? Yeah,
you deplete. You're taking away from like your iron stores. Running's very detrimental to red blood count. So your body's not fighting infection very well.
So when you do get sick, it just absolutely rolls you. Yeah.
Typically, So that's why you got to supplement, but eating well is number one. Drinking plenty of fluids also important, and even more so when it gets hot. But I tend to struggle more when it's cold. So summer's fantastic, but it's still very easy to get sucked into like, I did this training now, surely I can hold on to that fitness. But if you want to peak your fitness, you need to slowly progress to one point and not get carried away in 1 week's worth of training. Yeah. To see like, I hit a key session 15 weeks ago, I'll be right. And it's like, no, the accumulation of what you've been doing now.
And
I learnt that early as well, and it was very successful. I qualified in that March for Kona. I won my age group in Port Macquarie, and then went to Hawaii that October, and that kicked me in the face. You know, they had a mass start then when every male and female, everyone started together.
Yeah, right.
So 2,000 people in the water.
And does that make you go fastest to start off with or something like that? Is that why that sort of throws you off? Or?
You have to get out in the water this is 2010, 10 minutes before the start, right? Because you got to get out to the start line. Mm-hmm. You can't stand. All right, it's very deep. It's quite deep through that part of Kona, through the marina. People were pulling on one another to try and stay afloat. It was like sardines.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Like I'll never forget. And I wasn't a very competent swimmer at the time. It was just more still, you know, an introduction. And just the whole day was just intense, you know. And then I came home. Like I got through it, but I just struggled through. And then in the December, when I come home from Hawaii, because I was frustrated, I was like, I want to do the Ironman again in Boston. Now sounds like a lot. That's 4 in 1 year in my first year.
Yeah, that's
so the guy coaching was like, nah, that's, you know, just back that off. But I was like, no, I want to, and then I want to qualify again for next year, and then I won't do another one until Kona if I qualify. And yeah, I managed to qualify in that one in December. So within that year, I'd done 4.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh, well, now I want to make sure I can at least contest my age group. And then for the next 2 years, I won my age group in Hawaii. So you automatically re-qualify if you win your age group for the following year in Hawaii.
So you didn't have to do the Boston one that in between, or you still did it?
No, I didn't.
Didn't do it?
No, I did another one, or went to, and I got quite sick with food poisoning, actually, the 2 days before the race. But yeah, so that the age group experience, you know, I was still very new to it. Technology wasn't as documented, as marketed.
Yep.
It's heavily marketed now because it's making significant improvements. So you can be lazy in training almost. But the training effect still reigns supreme. You know, the more you do and the better you get at it, will better prepare you for a race.
Absolutely.
To race at a high level, right?
Absolutely.
So we've gone to, you know, the running wheel's gone to carbon shoes. Bikes are far beyond where they probably imagine.
The technology side of stuff, I can't believe how much that difference, like you said, with the shoes, with the bikes, with, you know, I'm about to find out the bike setup, how much difference that'll make, the gear that you're wearing, just everything. There's so much that goes into it just to get all those little percents. It's not just out there grinding for the hours. It's trying to make it as comfortable and do it the best that you can. And there's just so much technology stuff that goes into it, which, again, I didn't think of how many things could actually influence how well you're going to do that event. Yeah,
swimming's still very simple, right? Wetsuits there's rules on what you can wear. You just wear the fastest one you can buy,
and it's to do with like the buoyancy, hey? Yeah, the wetsuit. So I'm not swam in the wetsuit yet. I'm still waiting for that to come. But.
Yeah, so there's a mil thickness with swimming wetsuits for what's approved. But yeah, it'll just completely make your hips buoyant. So you will float on top of the water.
Doing the stuff with the pool boy is that much better.
That's what it does. It isolates your hips, right?
Yeah.
Because you really don't use a lot of kick in the open water for the race because you've got to ride and swim all day, right? So you don't want to be overactive from a kick point of view. But the wetsuit will just suspend your legs like floating up there.
Make it a bit easier.
Yeah, much easier. And, you know, it just makes you use far less energy, right? So then come the bike. Is when you really got to start to, you know, Busselton's flat, but the course does move and the road shifts and
the wind and all that sort of thing. Yeah,
and then it'll start to get warm and you get in the forest and it feels like it goes forever. So that's where the mental game of doing those 6 or 7 hour rides, in training, will start to, you know, will take effect on race day without you knowing it. And you know, but from our point of view with the technology, the bike's got quite ridiculous now, where like even the sleeve in a suit is saving you, you know, 90 seconds, 60 seconds to 90 seconds over 180.
How so?
Based on the material and the silicon bead or in the sleeve. So where the air's hitting the point. So once upon a time, it was just like get a bike, had cables everywhere and get some fast wheels. You know, now it comes back to tyre, pressure, the sealant you use in the tyre, making sure there's no holes anywhere on the bike so there's no additional air like turbulence made, trying to close the cavity between, you know, where you come down on the aero bars, so where your chest is to the top tube relative to the top tube of the bike. It's not making a lot of sense to a lot of people, but the top tube's the tube that you could fall onto and really hurt yourself. You know, and then also that position you hold, so based on where the aero bars are, hands to where your head is. You know, you got to try and close that gap as much as possible. So you're trying to make yourself like a motorbike.
Like a torpedo. You're just trying to, yeah.
If you could just put one big, huge helmet over the front of your bike, it's the most aerodynamic possible because wind's hitting one flush point and then it will just run over the top of you, create like a teardrop effect. Whereas if you're like when we're on a bike and you've got helmet's good, but you've got all this other surface area, you know, in your legs as well, and they're moving. So there's all these different points where if you can wear different clothing or different
just bounces
material,
off different.
You're trying to create this vortex around you, and then it almost starts pushing you forward and helps you maintain speed.
Compared to what I'm doing right now of just riding the road bike, that's very upright. I'm staying as low as I can get, but obviously using a triathlon bike is where for anyone that doesn't know, that's where you have your hands like leaning on the handles. How much difference do you reckon that makes?
Speed's huge, significantly like faster. You'll just tick off on a flat road at the same effort as you would on a road bike, anywhere from 3 to 5 kilometers an hour.
Really?
Faster, right?
Shit.
And then the faster you go, the more you save, more effort you save. So the bikes hold momentum a lot better. They tend to be stiffer.
Yep.
They're a little bit heavier than a road bike. So once they're at speed, the rolling momentum's greater.
Is it trickier to stay in that spot to start off with? It's way harder.
To gain the mobility through your back, you need to make sure that front end set correctly.
Fucking need to get one of those soon, then.
Yeah,
I've actually got, if we can't get one, I might. I've got a friend that's got one spare, possibly.
Really?
Yeah.
For a spare TT bike?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So I'll see if I can get that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard thing too, right? The industry's still recovering from COVID.
Yep.
Right. So the time trial bikes, they're few and far between these days. So it's, people are hesitant to sell them, even if they've been sitting there like golf clubs in the corner for 2-3 years. They just hold on to them because there's not a lot around, and especially something that might fit somebody well. But there's a road bike, you got to grip and rip all day. So you get sore through your forearms, through your hands.
My thumbs, even now, I can't even, when did I ride last? I haven't done a big ride in a week or whatever now, but man, my thumbs are like so sore, super tight.
Whereas you take all that away, right, on an aero bike because your hands are just like
flopping
limp.
there.
So it's the pressure is down through the skeletal system. So you're trying to make 90 degrees almost through your shoulders and elbows.
Yep.
So and there's no pressure on the muscle or the tissue. It's just through the bone, right? And so it's more ergonomic, if that makes sense for the majority of people. That you're sitting straighter, even though you look like you're more bent over.
Yep.
Because you get a saddle which opens your hips up, or the seat you're sitting on, the saddle, and it allows you to lean forward nicely and be more comfortable. And also in that position. So if we had it'd be cool to have like some sort of a little person with us, But if you're sitting upright on a road bike, right, if this is the person's head and this is their bum, it's not as simple as just like, okay, let's just tilt that there, because then you close that center point in the hips, and that's where you can create the hip impingements, right, which is probably what you're suffering from a little bit at the moment. We need to like rock the seat forward and the angle so you can roll the hips forward over that. So you don't just tip yourself like this, you rock forward into the position. So you're still staying like in that same position, but you're opening yourself up more.
Yep.
And you
does that then put that, obviously the reason why you do that is to put force through different areas of your body. So me being so conditioned to doing it that way, is it going to be, if I change now, well, I'm going to have to soon, will that make it really hard because I'm sort of working stuff in different areas that I haven't been previously?
You've probably been overworking those other areas. So,
but I guess that's also can like
positive.
Yeah, well, it could almost be a bit negative as well though, because then if I start to go back the other way and it's hitting it at a different sort of angle or
we'll take pressure off areas. So you
reckon it'll just be much more positive than what it would be?
Yeah, in that TT pose, you're going to use more your quads and your glutes. And so then we're going to save your hammies more to run, and then it'll also open up that your hip angle. And so that's what will take the pressure off any nerve-related activity or, just general tightness through your psoas, through the stomach, through the hip flexor, which is, people forget, like if you're getting sore on a bike, there's ways to fix it. You don't have to be riding around in pain. So, yeah, that's you don't need to get too involved in the whole tech world of a bike, but you can certainly do things.
Stuff. Yeah.
Certainly do things to just make it more comfortable for you for 180.
Yeah, definitely. So you were talking before about the feeling that you get and that high that you get when you finish. What does that feel like? I want to. I actually watched. I was flicking back through your Insta trying to get a video that I put up of you being a fucking psycho. But I was having a look back, and there was a couple that I came across, and it was you coming over the line. I think when you won the Bustleton one,
right? Trying to dance.
Yeah, it was. I saw that, and I was like, shit, that does look pretty fucking good. I had never ever seen. I hadn't even watched a video of somebody finishing one until I saw that one the other day. What does that feel like?
Yeah, winning's everyone. That's why we do it, right? That's the euphoria, the feeling that drives me every day. It just means you've executed a race to the best of your potential, right, on that day. You know, your potential might be better from what you think from a data point of view, but on that very day,
that was the best you could do.
That's the best you could do, and it was good enough, right? So those feelings aren't every day though. Right, so yeah, I don't know. I'm going to talk about the Brownlow again, just because it's recent. It was on last night, but Lachie Neale said the same thing. If you go to play in a premiership very early in your career, right, this could be across any sport, and you think, oh well, we'll get back there in a year or two, you know, and then you don't.
It might not happen
ever again, right? So, you know, Justin Langer, you know, from following cricket over the years, was very big on enjoy the successes, you know, because they're not...
Doesn't come around all the time.
No, you know, even the little ones, you know, just be sure to pat yourself on the back. You know, you can be... I definitely feel I'm probably my hardest critic because I'm, you know, self-coached, right? I've had some very good support and coaches over time, which I've taken a lot from. But now I'm at a point where I'm aware of what I need, and I just need to be smarter when it gets closer to an event. But yeah, even the ones like early this year, I had some injuries, some niggles, and I walked through some marathons in New Zealand, and then also in Cairns. I was walking quite a bit early in the year, and that becomes a survival. You know, so finishing them, it's nothing like the same as having a good race, you know, whether it win or podium, but it's the satisfaction in it's over, right? Because you've put yourself through something where you're not even
it's a lot of stress. Yeah.
You're not even performing at any level. You're walking, but you're like, oh, all right. So you tick them off, and then you hope the next one will be, you know, it'll reward you. It just doesn't, right? If you're trying to put your body in a place it doesn't want to be, just due to injury or health or whatever it be, it finds a way to win, right? So everything needs to be working in sync there. Yeah, and you got to move on quickly from them, because it's like, for you though, I still remember my first one. It was a blue carpet at the time in Bustleton, and it was, as everyone had always spoken of, it's just so nice to know that in like 200 meters, you can just like sit down. You know, you sort of float through that last bit, and then literally 10 minutes later, you'll barely be able to walk because you've just been in motion for so long. Yep. So much muscle damage. Your muscle's essentially been eating itself, right? When you go catabolic quite early in the day. So it's, you know, but yeah, those coming into that finish shoot, it's just that emotion of like, well, I weathered that, you know. That was,
can't wait.
Yeah.
I hope it's the best feeling I've ever experienced in my life.
They've made the carpet quite long, so you can enjoy it. But,
that's good.
I won't forget that first one. But
absolutely. So then what actually motivates you to keep going and keep doing more races, and what is the internal drive for you?
Yeah, so my son's almost 2 and I'm 35. Typically, this is the age when elite endurance athletes come into their prime.
Yeah, it peaks so much later, which I was so amazed about.
A lot of young guys having a lot of success these days as well. I say young guys, but they start very early. Yep. So I started when I was 21. These guys started before 10.
Yep.
Same time in the sport, right? So it's
because it just literally just takes hours and hours and hours of doing all the things.
Yeah, mentally and physically, right? You know, you need to start to believe in yourself as well, and what's too much or what's enough. But yeah, he's 2. I would love for him to be at an age where he gets to see me have good races. Yeah, so he can remember. And, you know, if we're fortunate enough to have more children, he can tell them and not me be the old disgruntled old man.
Your dad used to do
back
this
in the
one
day.
day.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, I just think...
You'll probably still be that, but, you know.
I would honestly love to walk away from the sport and not have to tell my children how good I thought I was.
Yep.
Or feel like, you know, I could have got so much more out of the sport. So that's what's driving me now, because I feel physically I can perform at much higher level than I ever have before, despite age. You know, I haven't been in the sport long. And there's still plenty of opportunity. So it's just about managing that opportunity correctly over 12 months, over however long the season needs to be.
Yeah. And then what exactly is it about the Ironman events that you just fucking love? Obviously that feeling at the end of it, once you've finished, once you've won the race or whatever, that high feeling that you get. But why that? Why do you think that you connected so well with that sport versus playing cricket or football or being in the gym and everything else that you did beforehand?
That's quite a good question. I still feel challenged by it every day. You can always perform at a higher level in training. So there's no boundary to how fast you might be able to go, because we're not the fastest runners in the world. We're not the fastest cyclists. We're not the fastest swimmers. They're all independent in their own sports. But that's the benchmark of what's humanly possible at the moment, of the world records. So we're way off it. But from my own point of view, there's nothing else I feel in life, not saying I was a super academic, but anything else you apply yourself to, you tend to get reward from effort, right? This is the one, this over 15 years now, the more I've applied and the more effort I've put in hasn't equaled the reward due to a number of circumstances. You know, and that's okay now. At the time, it's frustrating. But you learn, what I've learned is invaluable along the way. So it's probably channeling that now into relaxing on days when maybe I don't feel it, or linking up with the right people for training partners, and, you know, and also I don't need to, I don't need the training partners. I am fine at doing it on my own. It's how we race, right? You know, you'll get a sense of it, but there's plenty of people around to support that. But yeah, the drive now is very just personal for me to succeed to the level I feel I can consistently race at. Yeah, it's not about winning one particular event other than Busselton.
Yep.
Having success here has always been what drove me, you know, but I did win the event. So it's like, well, you know, they say it's never enough, but one day I look back and that can't be taken away. Yep. It's like someone that goes to the Olympics, right?
Well, yeah, and it's also like, I feel like to continue to get better and get back to that, you almost can't be satisfied with everything so far. You got to have something that you're still striving for, or that I guess that level that you hold yourself accountable to, because you know that was the peak of everything. That's as well as I trained, best performance, all that sort of thing. And like, if you kind of lose that a little bit, it's kind of hard to keep that edge, because it's such a it's such a stressful sport on your body, mentally, everything, that I think you just got to almost have every little bit of motivation and every reason to keep doing it that you possibly can, and keep yourself at such a high standard as possible.
And everything changes every time.
Yes.
So every experience is different. You could take that same training period and put it in 12 months' time before the race, and it won't end in the same result.
Yeah.
You know, because that's like life. Every day is new, it's different. Your body will respond in a different way. You can't control the weather, so that's irrelevant. You know, it's like, just all you can do is prepare yourself best for those moments and that time. You know when race day is, right? You know it's on the 3rd. So just, you know, for anybody at any level, don't sort of freak out and think I need to do this session on this date to make sure I'm right for this date. It's like, just rely on that consistently showing up. Yep. Rely on the fact that you consistently showed up for a long period of time, and you built yourself robust enough to be able to go at the level you're happy with for the day.
For sure. I think that's what I've sort of, I know that I was the complete opposite end of stuff in terms of my conditioning and background of fitness. So it was in the gym, lifting heavy, power, short sprint stuff versus this is the complete other end. But I think from the start, I went, all right, well, you're not going to, naturally, I'm not very good at that. Don't have a background in that. But what I can do is I can be consistent with it. And that's just what the whole time that I've sort of thought, all right, cool. It doesn't matter if you do the swim in 2.5 hours or whatever it is, just get it done.
Under 220.
Yeah, under 220. Just get it done. Get it done. And that's like all I've been thinking is like, just go get it done. Just go get it done. Doesn't matter about the time. Doesn't matter about whatever. Just go tick it off. And I think that's like what I've been able to focus on throughout it to make sure everything gets done so far.
Yeah, and you're doing it without, your old man's your training partner, which I think is fantastic. I think most people would love it if their parents would be a training partner of some degree to
definitely
keep them accountable. Yeah. So that's what training partners will do, keep you accountable. And I've been very fortunate to have some very good friends who are extremely good training partners, and you learn a lot from those people. Probably a lot more than, not taking anything away from coaches, but you're in one another's zones hours on end, right? You're riding together at threshold heart rates for long periods of time. So you get to know a whole nother world
bonding.
Of people.
Yeah.
You're having discussions at 150 beats, right? Where most people would have them at 60 beats at work, right?
Yes.
The discussions are very different at that heart rate, right? But they tend to be quite emotional at times. So they're just like deeper breathing and whatnot. So it's those times are what, in summer, a good mate of mine comes home and he's actually home in a few weeks, a bit earlier than normal. So I'll have him here to work with towards Busso, which is great. But, I've got some training partners at the moment who have just taken on, come for the ride a little bit, which is huge for me. Like, we might not speak for hours during it because they're just sitting on the wheel or whatever it be.
But it just keeps you going and keeps the pace up and keeps you motivated. Yeah.
Like my wife the other day, I had a 2.5 hour run to do out through the bush, and we pinged a lot of different intersections on the road that the trail crosses. She would just meet me with aid, so I could just keep moving. We don't speak through that period, but she gets it, she sees it. It's that's the people that I just want to enjoy the success with.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying I don't enjoy everyone getting around it, but it's like they're a huge part of what I'm doing. It's definitely there's a small team, but it's a very worthy team of people.
Absolutely, and I found that as well with mine. It's like I've got my mum, my dad, my partner Beck, my cousin who's come for rides. It's just yourself. There's just all these people that help from all different aspects. That it's not just about actually doing the sessions. It's all the other stuff around it and how you just try to juggle and balance everything because it's so much. Like, it's just so much to try to make sure is being ticked off and balanced.
Yeah,
it's hard to get it wrong. Yeah,
especially you do a lot away from it, right? So it's fine for me to say I need you to do this many hours a week, but you're then thinking, okay, I got to juggle that in between this, and you can't just like step out on your bike. Like, there's a preparation for everything.
Prep is the most annoying.
You got to drive to the pool. You got traffic. There's all sorts of things that people forget, right?
Yeah.
Then
because it ends up being a 2-hour session to maybe a 2 hours 45-minute session, and then I'm going, fuck, like that's pushing me over what I can actually allocate for the day. Yeah.
When you roll out, it might be a 2-hour ride. You never ride just for 2 hours. You have to stop somewhere for traffic or for just wait for someone to go past. You lose time really easily when you train. And so it might only be, like for me, for instance, there might be some 7 or 8 hour days, but they have full days. I've lost the whole day. I don't see, it's like I leave home before my son wakes up and I will get home when he's having dinner. So it's like a normal going to work normally, right? Where I might have come home during the day, but he's napping, right? So that's the difference. My wife before we had Tom, she was working, so I would just come home, eat, go out again. Then we'd both come home when it was like dinner time. But now there's this other enjoyment at home as well, which is, sometimes recently I haven't had heaps of energy for it, but it's same thing. In a month's time, your energy builds. As the weather builds, as your fitness builds. I've got some more help coming on in terms of from a sports science point of view, so that's pretty exciting for me.
Great.
Just to monitor health.
What are you doing for that?
Just some like in-field testing for checking blood lactic to make sure I'm within a zone at different effort, because my blood work's very good and at an extremely high level, but to be able to perform in the right zones when training is essential to progression, so you don't overdo it and you don't underdo it as well. You're not being too soft, which that's the hard part for me when I guess you're coaching people. For you, we're just trying to get you to do the time, but if people were trying to reach a certain time or a goal, as a coach, sometimes you come off pretty harsh. Like, no, I need you to do this. No, why did you were a bit slow there, or it was too fast. Like, why are we racing and training? We need to save that. Because you lose, like you said, you were nervous when or not nervous. It would have been nervous to a degree, but when you have that 4K swim, you think about it all night.
Yep.
Yeah, your body, it's nervous energy.
Yeah.
Right? Your adrenaline's actually, you're producing adrenaline. So you need to learn how to just like relax and just wake up the next day, look at the program, away you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And has there ever been a time that you felt just absolutely beat by the whole thing? Like you thought, this is it, whether it was an injury or, whether it was, just a prep for a race that didn't go well or whatever it may be. Is there a point that you just thought, I'm fucking done with this? And how did you get over that? How did you overcome it and progress?
Yeah, 2016, 17, 18.
Every year.
Yeah, I had a heap of chronic back issues, in my mid to late 20s, which was related to some lumbar spine and actually a sacral fracture. Misdiagnosed because I wasn't symptomatic, so it was a lot of frustration through that period, a lot of good training, but just empty race days. There was always someone, though, that would just keep me in it, someone close, family.
Yeah.
Just on to the next one, because they could see the training, the effort going in training. And then you have small glimpses of success in racing and it's, okay, I am there still. Or I am where I think I could be. And then, I had a fair bit of success, was sort of coming a bit more freely or more frequently prior to COVID. And then COVID obviously knocked all that out. And then coming back from that, there's been a few moments now. Typically one in May this year. Mm-hmm. I really struggled preparing between a race that didn't go well in Port Macquarie and Ironman Australia to Ironman Cairns. I started to get a lot of joint-related issues, bilateral, so both sides. It was extremely painful.
And it's so much just about trying to keep yourself injury-free more than anything else as well.
But it wasn't like muscular, I felt okay. I just had a lot of joint pain and I was just, put into the cold. But since then, it forces you to go and get things tested, and I've got a good sports doctor who looked into things, and perhaps all the back issues years ago have actually been related to what they call ankylosing spondylitis. So it's like it is a genetically gifted arthritis. I'm not blaming.
Thanks, Mum and Dad.
Yeah. Mum did say sorry, and I was like, you don't have to be sorry about anything. It's just, a lot of people go through far worse. But
like my receding hairline that I got from my dad.
I noticed
I tell him that all
I
the
didn't
time.
want to say
I go,
anything,
fucking Dad.
So this has all happened recently, which has probably given me a bit of a lease on life, because you see a specialist and they're telling you like diagnosing you with something, but the rheumatologist was able to go back, and it's almost like she was with me for the last 10 years. Has this ever happened? Has this ever happened? And it was just all these moments through racing and life, and I was like, don't read into it too much, because
you can't. You got to sort of just keep
I've heard it all,
on,
and it's like, okay, well, there is treatment for this to limit the pain and whatnot. And so far, I feel like it's been quite a significant change to how my joints. Like I was waking up in the morning through May, and I had to lift my elbows to hold my shoulders up because I was so sore, and then I was still trying to swim 25k a week.
And did it feel like it ever got looser when you're swimming, or every stroke was just
by
cooked?
3k, towards the end of the session maybe.
Yeah.
And then arthritis typically is better in arthritic pain when you go to the humidity.
Yep.
It might improve, but when I went to Cairns, it's humid and it got worse. So I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to swim, throw my arms over. I couldn't really do it the days before the race. And I was living on Panadol, and so everything's going to impact your race then, because you're taking on supplements that aren't made for performance or to enhance your performance. So it's and that sort of training through that pain, in the arthritic pain actually formed bursitis. So I had quite bad bursitis in both shoulders for that race. But that was, for me, walking in Cairns was like, that's enough. Everyone around me's been through enough now. And me too. Like, you get tired when you don't have much success over a significant amount of time. And the last 18 months, it's just felt like that a little bit. But, Busselton always gives me this,
a little bit of a buzz back.
Yeah, I love the place, not just the race down there, but as a location, I love WA. So, I've been on the podium there the last 4 years, and I've won it once. But I still feel there's a performance down there which could be very good. I've been okay. So it's, now getting sick a few weeks back has just made it all more of a focus on December.
Yep.
Sort of staying put a bit more.
So a question that I get a lot of the guests to answer and sort of go into a little bit, particularly when I'm talking to basketballers or footballers, we sort of talk about their pre-game habits and what they do leading up. But you've sort of said throughout this that every race is so different. So I think that makes it such a unique sport, in that your preparation is going to be so different every race and every event that you go into. Is there some things though that you find that are very consistent with you, whether it's the nutrition side of things, how you taper off for your training mentally? Do you do anything to just relax yourself, recharge, or get yourself focused specifically a few days or a week leading up to the actual event day?
The sessions are all pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a week out. From what if I'm feeling good, that typically is quite a normal week. Keeping a lid on it is normal, but also you get a lot of external, rest, put your feet up. Everyone's rest is different, right? And so for me, I feel at home, and probably credit to the success in Busselton over time, is I feel like I can do it my way.
Yeah.
I know everywhere. I know the local
the
shops.
road,
just, nothing feels uncomfortable. So, and you don't have to go early, you just drive down, right? So, or too early. But I don't like to have some specific routines. When you travel, you just can't have them.
Yep.
You travel and you can't take much with you. You're living your bike weighs 23 kilos, and so you might have an extra 7 kilos of luggage. Yep. So if you're lucky. But it's I really went away from that and tried to just sort of embrace it's still just, it is another day. Something you're preparing for, yes, but you just got to get into it. It's like when I used to bat third or fourth sometimes, I prefer to open the batting because you're just out there straight away, but sitting and waiting, that's how it feels. That pre-race. Not saying cricket is anything like
doing the endurance
triathlon,
stuff,
but that mental aspect and that relax, don't overthink what you're going to do when you're out there, or it's just as soon as they say go, all those negative thoughts or nervousness goes away.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't even allow those thoughts in, just throw them out, put them in the bin. Essentially, it's like just keep thinking 8 o'clock, they're going to call the buzzer. They're going to blow the buzzer.
Because it's such a long event as well, if you were so antsy about it to start off with, it's such a long time that you got to keep yourself working at that one level for. So if you're trying to amp yourself up too much beforehand, I imagine it may drop off at some point, where you don't want it to drop off in the race.
Yeah, if you're fresh enough, your body will respond as soon as you say go.
Yeah.
Right, you'll react quickly. But yeah, you're right. If you're trying to really pump yourself up, that's maybe for short course events.
Yeah.
Whereas these are just
just get into it.
Start and settle.
Yep.
The quicker you settle, the better you'll be come the time to run.
Definitely. So last time you were on, we were speaking about, there's a group chat of some other guys that you train, and I think they all came back saying, I think you asked them, do you think you can do it? And they all said, no. So how's the group chat going? Have they been watching? Do they still think that, or have they come around?
Yeah, they've just gone quiet.
They've gone quiet?
For a little bit, it was like, in the middle of winter, does he own a shirt? But that's about and then you were whinging a little bit about getting up at 6 or 6:30.
6,
because they're all people will have a sook about things that they would love to do.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Most people might have to get up at 4 o'clock
to go do
5
it.
o'clock to get a session in before, maybe even earlier. But that is a choice as well, right? So you don't have to do the sport, okay, if your work hours don't allow it. So yeah, people, if they're whinging about it, it's because they want to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like I get people say, pro hours, it'd be so easy. Come and train with me for 40 hours a week.
Not easy.
See how you feel at the end of it, right?
Yep.
So it's, and then to do that week after week after week, and just maintain a good mindset and visualize what you're trying to do. So, humans, we're very quick to be critical, right? But everyone's gone quiet now because you're still posting videos. You're
still out there ticking the
K's
Ks
doing
off.
some stuff, getting angry about your running. But yeah, that your awareness of it now. Had a mate say the other day, he looks like he might be about to pack it in. And I'm like, nah, you just got to go through this period and you'll have a couple of sessions now where you'll be like, oh, no, that felt a bit better. And then, that like running's frustrating you. So that will be your marker.
Yep.
Without you now knowing, it's just mentally become the bike you've been doing 4 hours, a fair bit, right? You've done a lot of 4-hour rides. So we can step that up and you'll just progress nicely. Swimming has been very good from a progression point of view of distance, but the running's been your frustration. So it's just to remove the frustration and let your body slowly get running. Yeah, and build the volume over shorter runs, but the weekly volume will be greater.
Yeah, definitely. So like, what does my next little blocks of training look like? So you said then we're just going to maybe build up just building everything up a little bit with the runs. In terms of the swimming, do I do any more, or we just go 4Ks and you just get really good at the 4Ks?
Yeah, we'll probably just
because
we could get carried away.
The 4Ks doesn't worry me if that. So like, I wake up going, oh yeah, cool, now I can do it, and that's nice. I like knowing that I can just do that. Versus like if I'm fucking also, then I can just worry about the bike ride and the run. Yeah, and then it takes the pressure off for the swimming because I know I can do it and I just keep ticking it.
Yeah, I'm happy. Like we'll just make 4Ks more consistent.
Yeah,
over a week, and then you do some open water swims. Which if we do a few 5Ks,
when do we do that? I haven't even thought.
No, they haven't started yet, right?
I haven't even thought about the fucking ocean
freezing.
swimming, and not even that. The sharks. I'm not about it,
mate.
I'm really worried about the sharks.
There's people out in front of you that'll take that bait. True. Yeah, we can, that'll be for fun and mentally as well. If you've done a 5K, then 3.8s, you'll cruise through that.
Easy, yep.
But yeah, we'll need to brick the sessions together more now. So more bike running off the longer bikes so we can practice nutrition.
I couldn't believe the difference when you do a ride and then you go for a run after. You actually run so much fast. Well, I do anyway. I run so much fast because, it's like when you've been on a country road going 100 Ks and then you come back to driving suburban 70 and you're like, this feels really slow. So it almost, in my head, it feels like I need to be going faster because I've just come off doing maybe 25 Ks or 28 Ks an hour on the bike. Yeah. And then when you're running, it feels really slow. So I have to like really actively try to pull myself back, if that makes. Do you get that or no?
Oh, it's your legs are warm. That's all.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's from a speed in movement point of view.
Right.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's how it feels for me. Okay. So I'm just like, I just feel like it makes sense though. My legs are just warm and everything else is flowing.
Yeah. Whereas if you just go out the door and start running, you're essentially just waking your muscles up. The blood, you need to get the blood flowing through those mechanisms first to help you run more effectively. But you'll be very economical when you first start running, and then the problem is you need to not overrun early, so you still need to build into it. So just let the legs come because they take a few K to transition. Yeah, and you can do quite a bit of damage, which we're not going to try and run that fast. So it's
fine. Yeah,
you'll be fine.
So then to sort all these little injuries I've got out, so we're going to get the bike fits this week, which would be good. Do you reckon that'll significantly help?
Yeah, it'll be related to your hips.
Yep.
From what I feel now, it's not something to be worried about.
Because I haven't put a video up about it. I would have by the time this comes out. But yeah, I have this for anyone that's not Matt that hasn't heard this, but I just had these cramps going in my glute. I just went for a bike ride, 20 minutes into it, whole glute, and I was like, oh shit, I'll stop just to have a stretch. Had a stretch, just wouldn't go away, and I was like, I'll see if I can just keep going. And I went for another 20 minutes, and I'm like, it was like 8 out of 10 pain. I was thinking, shit, this is really bad, and it just never freed up. So I had to stop. Beck came and picked me up.
Send me a photo.
Yeah, sent me a photo. Yeah, and then the next day I was like, because the body was feeling fresh, come off a day off, and then really I had 2 days off because I didn't do the big ride, and I was going, oh sweet, run, feeling good. It just felt like I'd been corked the next day though in my butt. So I was like, okay, I'll see how that goes. And I started running. I was like, oh, this feels amazing today. I'm going to get I'm going to get 20 Ks, no worries. And then 2 Ks in, my quad did the exact same thing. And I was like, are you joking? So really weird, hey?
Yeah, like we spoke of, it could be a number of things, like low in some form of mineral, or you've just overdone the time in that bike position, or even like was talking about the different movements in a week.
Yep.
So, if you do some step-ups or some squats or things you might not have done a lot of recently, you're just overactive through that area.
Yeah.
And so it's just engaged too soon in the session, especially if it's one-sided. If it was both sides going, then it would be related to, mineral imbalance.
Yeah.
But when it's, when there's only one side sort of firing up and causing issue, you got to look at other movement patterns or positions that you might have been sitting in, and then it's never, if your glutes are going, then sitting's terrible for it, right? So your body doesn't want to be in that position. So when it's on stretch, so you want to try and stand or sort of stretch through your back in that extension movement. But we won't think about it too much just now. Just try and get
do the bike and
try and get you moving right. Yeah,
totally. Well, mate, I think we'll have to do maybe one more short bit a little bit closer to the race, because I want to talk about like the actual what I'm going to be doing, the lead up in terms of the food and all that sort of thing. But I literally would not be here talking to you about it and continuing to do all the race without you, mate. I cannot thank you enough for everything so far. All the support, the knowledge, the program, and everything that you brought, I literally could not be more thankful for. So thank you very much. Let's keep grinding away and get this fucking race done. Keep showing up. Yeah, baby.